Hey, you guys, welcome to Let's Talk Life Excel. We are on a new series. I know we need some digital claps in the background. We are on the health and wellness series. You guys know every March I focus on health and wellness because it is very important to us leveling up, which was the last series. So today we're going to be talking about dumping the baggage. Now, we all come with some baggage, right? We try not to admit it, but we do. We come with our own personal level of baggage. Today, we're going to be talking about worry. And I have some remarkable guests with me today in the studio. And we're going to start with Kingdom Talk. Will you guys introduce yourselves?
Everybody,
Hey everybody, I'm Anthony Thomas,
I'm Josefina Thomas.
and we are the founders of Kingdom Talk. Hey Shunte, hey Mr. Jonathan, we're excited to be here.
And then I have an in-studio guest with me as well, which is a very good friend of mine. And I'm going to let him introduce himself as well.
Hey, greetings. I am Jonathan Rivera. Yeah, Jonathan.
And you guys, Kingdom Talk, where did the idea to start a business that empowers and help the community? Where did that come from, the desire of that?
It definitely came from God. It was a vision that God gave us, but just having a heart for the people and a heart for the community and those who thought they were left out and those who thought they were left behind, and just want everybody to know that the love of God does not have an expiration date. It does not expire, and you are not exempt or disqualified from His love. So that's where it came from.
Awesome. Now, one thing that we have to make note of and honor, you guys, man, I need that round of applause button right now because Anthony and Josefina Thomas won the cover of our magazine, Mixed Talk Media magazine, for 2020. Now, 2020 came with all kinds of ups and downs. And even though we had to cancel our event because of COVID, we still wanted to make sure we honored the people who did take the time to enter our contest. Every year we do a magazine cover contest. And so many people entered. We had about 5 of them. And out of the 5, let me tell you, they had 15,000 votes by themselves.
Okay,
I mean,
that's what I'm talking about.
right. It just blew the voting out of the water. I was like looking at the data, like, wow. Now that was our record amount
Congrats.
of so they did win the cover, and you guys can check that out at mixtalkmedia.org. They are on the cover. We're doing a 2020 rewind of our first edition of Mixed Talk magazine. So, Jonathan, tell us those things that you're into because you're into health and wellness as well.
Indeed. Well, I started getting involved in communities and also offering health and wellness outlets since the age of 12. Um, my family had their own business or running a martial arts academy. Um, and we offer those in home base and out to different communities as well. So I partook on that, got my bachelor's in physical education, and been running my career while doing running programs for communities through nonprofits, and then also running side gigs, running personal training and self development programs.
That is awesome. Now you've won a couple of competitions. Can you tell us about your most recent win?
So, my recent one was 2014. It was travel to Russia. 2017, actually.
Mhm.
Yeah, traveled to Kazan, Russia, and it was the World Wushu Championships, and I competed representing Puerto Rico as my country, and I think but top 10 scored in the finals.
Awesome. So let's get to the topic. We're talking about worry. Now we know that life can just shift in the blink of an eye. In the last series, we were talking about just really living our best life. And I feel like worry is a key component in, keeping you down, keeping you out of the game of life, really keeping you out of the forefront and into the spotlight. And when I talk about spotlight, I mean just the light that you have within you, that kind of spotlight. Worry can dim that light. Now, Anthony, when I shot y'all the topic of worry, what was the first thing that came to your mind?
The first thing that came to my mind that is in the natural, there are so many things going on naturally that is almost a spirit of worry over everyone has encountered it, but it just made me think about the COVID, the economy, the health. I mean, so many different things to worry about. So it's a great topic to address. It's something that is present and that we're dealing with right now.
Right. I know. COVID, definitely dealing with COVID, and especially when you have a business or you're right in the middle of, business. I feel like the spring is a good time for business sales most often. People are out and about, they coming out the house, they warming up. And yeah, that's when you really can see a peak in business because people are doing more supporting. When we're like the animals in the wild. When it's wintertime, most of us go indoors. We shelter, hunker in, but when springtime come, that's time to get out.
Right.
And COVID hit right when the spring came. When I shot you the topic of worry, Jonathan, what was the first thing that came to your mind?
Well, worry being a emotional anchor to the pool of things that can be concerned about or things that can be addressed or possible flaws. So it's a matter of detachment, and then that way it starts becoming a worry, and you start addressing the factors of the possible outcomes.
Yeah, I like that. So first, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. Identifying the current challenges or problems. I think a lot of times worry will creep up on you. I don't think worry always announces itself like, "Hey, yo, guess what? I'm in the spot now. I'm on the scene." Worry can slowly creep up on you if you're not really paying attention to your current reality. Sometimes we're looking so far ahead that we don't even realize what situations we in at the moment. So when worry creeps in, Anthony, what is your first, how do you identify when worry has creeped in?
How do I identify when worry creeps in? Or what is my first reaction?
Either or.
Okay, what I've learned, my first reaction is to understand that worry was not sent by God. So I've learned to not hold on to things that God did not send me. I know it's presented to me. I know things form to where I can grab hold to it. But when I start diving too deep into it, I have to realize, wait a minute, the first step to problem solving is identifying the problem. So let me identify what the problem is. Okay, the spirit of worry is heavy. I'm starting to stress and all these other things. Let me fall back and say, was this assigned to me by God? No, I'm gonna let it go. And then I start praying and trusting in God.
And taking on that, I was listening to the Level Up um, episode, and the uncertainty of things is the things that you cannot control, the unexpected outcomes. You leave that to the utmost optimist vision of things, and that's what we're leaving God to take care of. You're like, this is my best possible outcome, and I'm gonna leave that to you at this moment because I can't just carry this right now, and that's where he comes in. I mean, there's all the burdens that it's like, all right, because you are strong enough to handle these, so I'm just gonna give you all these ways so you develop enough strength to handle those. And once you develop that, I got you, because you're putting that work first. You're not just putting on that prayer, not doing any putting any work to it. You're actually putting work to the subject, and then the other party is gonna give you that fair share of what you're giving.
Yeah, I agree. Sometimes and it's just like sorting, right? We sort our clothes, we sort our finances, we sort our groceries. You know, some things go in the freezer, some things go in the refrigerator, some things go in the pantry. But we don't really think to sort our minds. We don't think to sort our thoughts. Sometimes you have to take account of, okay, what thought has entered into my spirit right now? What am I thinking on? I think sometimes we have to stop and think what we're thinking about, right? And then we can sort, like Anthony is saying, like Jonathan is saying, say, okay, you know what? I am strong enough. I've been through, because you can sort it into two categories: what you have strength for and what you don't have strength for. What Jonathan said. And what you do have strength for is what God has equipped you to solve. Because we all have our cross to bear, right? We all have problems. Worry is not going to go away, but we do need to recognize when it comes, because it is not sent to come and attach itself to it. And then you have the other pile where this, you don't have the strength for this. Like Anthony said, this is not what God has given you to carry. Maybe it is a problem that it's not within your control to solve. So then you have to sort it. You have to then take it down to another level. You got to go a little deeper in that. You say, okay, well, you know what? I have the strength to deal with this, but do I really have control over this situation where I can control the outcome? Because some things are just beyond us, but we don't really take that in account. We just say, okay, you know what? This is entered into my thoughts. Let me keep marinating on it. And then there it comes. Now it's on repeat. And it's going over and over and over and over and over. And now you can't even go to sleep at night. Now you up thinking about it. You up 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning trying about, how can I solve this problem? When really, one thing that's come to mind, one thing that, and I always like to pick topics from a place of experience, because I always like to at least know what I'm talking about, right, y'all? And I think it's life. Let's talk life excel. I think on any level, we can all sit and have a conversation in one of these shows. But one thing that has been constantly creeping up for me is time. So when I hear a particular message on something, I take notice. If I'm reading a book and the message is time, then I go to listen to YouTube and the message is time, and then I'm reading something on the computer and the message is time. The universe, God, he's just trying to tell me, hey, look, you need to let time manage this. So you got to figure out, again, what do I have the actual control to have some sort of product or outcome? And then what is not being assigned to me? So you have to identify your problems, and then you have to sort them. I know another issue with worry is unforgiveness. Josephina, can you give me have you ever had to forgive somebody that you didn't really want to forgive?
Oh, quite a bit. I still work on that, because I'm still kind of, I hold grudges, and it's hard for me to let it go. He's okay. I said sorry, like, conversation's over. Let's move on. I'm like, no. I'm still mad. Let me marinate on it. So I've learned to give myself a day with anger. Not even anger, just a day with letting it sit on me. And then after that, I got to throw it away, because it makes me a horrible person all around. I end up being a bad wife, a bad mom. Everybody's in trouble in the house when I'm mad. So I got to let it go.
I understand. I'm the same way. I'm like, and I'm bad too. I ain't gonna lie. Y'all, I'll be honest. Here's my transparent moment. I ain't gonna lie. I be like, I want them to hurt the way I hurt. I be like, the Lord had to really deliver me from that, because Shunte with a broken heart turned into Shunte real quick. So, Jonathan, have you ever had a situation where you knew that forgiveness was the way to kind of release that strain of worry?
Indeed. In most of the occasions, it's what do I have to learn from this, and where you find resolution, and also maybe motive in the other person. Like, if you understand the other person, you can empathize where they're coming from, but not necessarily agree with that, right? And also find as a resolution to like, well, we're accountable for each other. If my we're within each other's flaw, you're not self accountable, then I'm being self accountable and I'm doing the best I can. That's within my control.
I like that. Now, what if someone doesn't want to be accountable for their part in things?
Then if it's a serious relationship and you already know that about that person, or you're willing to carry that baggage, that burden, share that burden with them, you have compassion as a partner, and you wait for them to stop beating themselves up,
Right.
you know, and then you go back and say, like, try to wing it from there. You kind of, as a partner, you kind of get that vibe. You're like, hey, so you want to talk about this in a way, and if that other person doesn't want to address it, that's on them, because that's their way of dealing with their own uh, bucket of burdens.
Right.
To put it that way.
Yeah. Because some people, you have the change is the hardest thing, right? Change is we want people to change all the time. Be like, I just wish they would just do this differently. Or I wish she would, I wish all she needs to do is say I'm sorry. But what if you're the person that needs to say I'm sorry? What if the other person is thinking the same way about you? And I like what you said, resolution.
Mm-hmm.
You in resolution, when you're having to forgive another person, it has to be equal parts. And when you're in a relationship, you will
Self
pick up the
acknowledgement.
yeah, you will pick up the slack, like you say, because I'm not gonna always be able to give 100%. So it might be times where you have to meet me more on my end of things, and I have to meet you more on your end of things.
Right.
Anthony, what is your strategy for empathy? Being able to empathize and say, okay, you know what? Okay, let me see this from both perspectives.
Well, 99.6% of the time I'm right. So okay, I'm just playing. But no, really, just okay, maybe 99.4. But really, I always try to understand um that the forgiveness is for me, right? I always want to put myself in their position, even at work, right? Sometimes people can have a bad day going through things in life, and life can cause them to act a certain way towards you, or even out of character, or just be disrespectful at times, And so sometimes I'll always try to say, when if I fire back at you, right? If I give you what you're really looking for, then I'm operating out of my flesh, and I cannot allow my emotions to be controlled, or I cannot be controlled by my emotions, right? So I can do more damage by responding out of my flesh. So overall, when you have a love for people and a heart for God's people, you always want to try to say, okay, how can I make this situation better? Because at the beginning of the day and the end of the day, I don't want to argue all day. I don't want to fight all day. I don't want you upset all day, right? I want to move past this point. I want you to understand what I was saying. I want to hear what you're saying. Now, let's come to a resolution, as Mr. Jonathan said, and let's move forward. It's all about progression in life. But if you operate out of your emotions, sometimes that causes you to remain stuck. You don't progress. It makes it worse. And as she said, some people, they dwell on it and it sit there and marinates. And now you start, just looking for any other reason to be ticked off and ready for basically. So what I do is I understand, and sometimes I have to cut it short. Even if she's not acting like herself, right? Because we come and talk about real life. I say, hey, you're not being yourself. Don't allow the enemy to use you. And then it kind of like it helps her set back, helps her calm down and relax, and then we able to talk and communicate and have a resolution.
I like that. I think being able to even just using discernment, right? And say, you know what, this is out of character for this person. I think, but you have to be able to step back, because I'll be honest. I used to take everything so personally, and that came from a baggage of being, feeling like I was always being compared, not good enough. So then, any kind of criticism or any kind of conflict, I just took inward, like deep.
Indeed.
And I had to really come out of that mindset and say, okay, you're an adult now. You can control, what you allow in. You can control your self perspective. So you have to look from a healthier point of view. So that way, when I'm encountering other people and I am offended, because you can't get around offense and people are going to act out of character, I'm going to act out of character. Be like, whoa, you all right? You good? You good today? You good? Tight, we good? So, just being able to just recognize, say, ooh,
Indeed.
you're a little out of character today, and leave it at that. So that way you don't take it in, internalize, then it starts to turn into worry. Now you're wondering, because I'm just gonna say this, ladies, don't hate me. Then you think, oh, it's over now. We ain't had one fight. It's over. He gonna break up with me. We ain't gonna make it through this. We'll internalize something, and by the time it filters from our heart to our mind, it's a whole nother scenario. Something totally different has happened, right?
Totally
And
different.
how do you feel about internalization, like being mindful of the things that we take inward?
Well, in my journey, meeting different individuals that have shared their own synthesis on their own life experience, they have brought up certain philosophies that have helped me be able to cope with my own overthinking. And the basics, that one tool for discernment that helps me be able to remove a whole lot of that out of the equation, and is thought and fear. Like, are my thoughts coming from love, or are they coming from fear? Just because then we're talking about being productive versus being destructive, being self-destructive or self-productive. And when you see the ones that are being controlling, the ones that are questioning things that are not in the here and now, all of those are coming from fear. And when you remove those, you are found yourself with a very logical set of solutions that you have to find for certain circumstances. And then everything else you can operate from love towards.
I love it. It takes us right into the next topic, which is the traps of worry. And one thing you mentioned was fear. That's when I love what you said. You take things that are, you twist logical and illogical outcomes or scenarios. It all becomes twisted because now you're looking from an unhealthy perspective when you internalize things, and the filter is fear, right? Or the filter is doubt, or the filter is low self-esteem, or I want to say the biggest trap from worry is frustration. And another, y'all, I think I'm gonna be high on the transparent, right? You know what, y'all, I'm just gonna put it out there. I was frustrated at the beginning of this show, and I had to say, Anthony, will you please pray over us today?
Yeah.
Because we're all human. And sometimes frustration is one of the symptoms that what I'm worrying about will be manifested. So, when I'm worrying about, okay, let's just pick one. Will they like me? And it's not trivial. That is not trivial just because we are adults talking. It's some adults right now that won't step into a room because they are afraid that they will be rejected. It's some people that will not show up fully in relationships because they feel like they will not be accepted for who they are. If you're quirky, be quirky, right? If you take notes, take notes. Baby, get your notepad out. If your friends tease you, let them teach you. Yeah, Anthony and Josefina Thomas. I'm taking notes today. But I love it. And you got to be around people that will accept you. But the thing is, you'll never know if you don't fully present yourself, right? So we have to be able to not let that frustration filter into worry, into this illogical outcome.
So a further step back is self-acknowledgement, like self-knowledge. Like, you cannot present what you don't know. And that's why you start presenting a persona, because you don't even know who you are. And it's okay, but I mean, sometimes we gotta grow and you gotta start studying the little book and start coming with some solutions about it. That's something that we lack in general.
Well, I think, oh, y'all, that's a whole nother show. I think to really be knowledgeable of oneself is to really look at yourself. And I don't think that we can really look at ourselves in the mirror and not criticize ourselves and stop there. I think we see ugly things about us and we just stop because it's too painful, or it takes us back, or it triggers some sort of unhealthy memory that we want to forget. So we don't really deal with who we are, because I mean, there's one person you can't lie to. You. Anthony, how do you feel about self-knowledge?
I think it's very important to be aware and be confident in who you really are. We go through things in life, and that develops our character, that develops our strength. Like, you are chosen for the things that you encounter. And we have to understand that sometimes we don't want to step into a room, but when God tells us to go, he has already approved us. He has confidence in us. You know, many times we doubt ourselves, and I say this, I probably said this before, but when she starts making cookies and stuff and they don't start looking like the way she wants them to look, she'll stop and throw them away in the middle of it, right? Well, God has never done that with us. He's never started making us and then just say, nah, I'm going to throw them away. We were still made in his image and his likeness, and he handcrafted us and made us. So I reflect back to, you know what? Yeah, I might be insecure in some areas, right? But God made me. I am not what man thinks about me. Their opinion does not make me. The like or the view does not make me, right? Yeah, that's just an opinion. But I am what God has already said that I am. He thought I was worth continuing to make, continuing to bake, right? I'd be like, no, give me them cookies back. But she throw them away because she wants them to be perfect and look a certain way. And many a times we try to look a way that we want our peers to see us as, when in actuality, they need to see us as who we really are, because there's inspiration in that, in us being authentic and being aware of who God really made us to be. What you think?
I think you made a good point, and I think we need to learn to stop putting the blame on everybody else. Sit back and really take a look at ourselves and realize that maybe you're not always the problem. 99% of the time, but not always the problem. But no, I know, like, in the beginning, I used to blame him for everything. And I used to even pray, like, God, please fix him. Like, just
Everything.
fix him. And nothing ever changed until I had to sit down and be like, God, okay, maybe it's me. Fix me, let me. And then I had to acknowledge what I've been through. I've had to deal with it. And then I had to be transparent with it. And when I got to a point that I was able to realize, like, everything I've been through made me who I am and made me capable to do the things that I'm called to do, then I was able to grow more. And then I realized it wasn't him being the problem. He just completed what I lacked. And God places us with people, friends, spouses, just co-workers that complete what we lack. So we're the complete package. Because our words, if you look at me and Shunte, it didn't seem like we would be as close friends as we are, but I love you and we're perfect together.
She's like the yin and the yang, you know, like almond and dark chocolate. But I just, I think that's good, because we have total different, she's more quiet, I'm more outspoken, but
Yeah.
I mean, hey, we have great conversations. We know how to talk and speak into each other in a way that uplifts us each other. If I'm down, I can talk to her. If she has something going on, she can talk to me. So it's about that happy medium. You don't need someone just like you, but you do need someone that can reflect you. You need to be able to see hey, when I'm interacting with Jonathan, is there parts in me that I could grow in? I
Right.
should be able to see that. It should be a sounding board. Now, I'm not saying when I look at someone else, I have to see Shunte in them. That's not what I'm saying. But the people that are in your presence should be able to help you build your own character. You can glean from them. You can take positive things from them and say, oh, you know what? I love how she is just confident and what she's wearing. I can help, let that help me boost my confidence in this area. Or I like that Jonathan invest so much in knowledge and reading. It wouldn't hurt me to pick up a book, but you were gonna say something. I saw you get jump in there.
It keeps adding up. The plaster that we're talking about, that makes up for that support where we are hollow or where we're living from, and which brings us to see that in our partners. At the end of the day, it's unconditional love. Unconditional love for yourself, seeing your own flaws and defects once you recognize them, and and that's self accountability right there. And then how you're able to do that for the other person when they are presenting their own flaws, and you just put that plaster in there. Once you do that, and you allow yourself not to react to their own reactions or to their projections to their own environment, you can admire them.
Yeah,
You can take care of them.
I like that. And I think that we should even see some people that rub us the wrong way as those people that kind of smooth out the rougher edges in us. If you feel like somebody is impatient, maybe there's some patience level in you that could grow on your end. If you feel like they are hard and abrasive, maybe that's, you pray on that and you say, Lord, when I encounter them, let their hardness smooth out any hardness in me. Help me to be able to deal with them in a certain way. And I think a lot of times we want to get rid of the hard to deal with people in our lives, but they are put there for a reason. And it's all about, how are we filtering these things? And are we letting those type of situations frustrate us? Because I know I have been frustrated. So, and I have to stop. And it's a good place, just like with fear. When fear comes, when doubt comes, when low self-esteem comes, it doesn't mean that you're a bad person, right? We get down on ourselves and we just cancel ourselves. We just, honestly, we just kind of throw our own selves away, and then we project that as other people rejecting us when really we're just self-rejecting.
Right.
And when we really filter, like, what is my filter here? Is it frustration? Am I worried about something? Do I have low self-esteem in this area that's causing me to not really show up fully as I am? Is it causing me to doubt some of the things that God has promised me, or some of the things? Because sometimes, there are people out there listening, like, you know what, I don't even believe in God. I got this. But we all have this internal like device that says, you know what? I know that there is something more to my life, something greater. And I feel like that something greater for me is God's promise. It's saying that in due time, this is the fullness your life will encounter, right? It may be, to be married for some people, to have a family, to have babies, to be in a certain financial bracket, whatever that is, or just to have more free time or be more happy. A lot of this, we talk on the podcast a lot about businesses and things like that. But, during the mental health and wellness month, I like to focus on not just business, but just, being happy. Because I think that is one treasure that we take for granted. We look for it in all these places, all of these external places. But really, happiness is a choice that resides within us. And sometimes, in some seasons, that choice is almost daily, throughout the day, throughout the situation. You have to constantly choose happiness because it is fleeting. It is not a constant. It's something that is constantly available.
Absolutely.
Right? Just like breathing. The air is available if I take a breath. But if I stop taking that breath, then what? I'm restricted from that resource.
But check this out. It gets to the point that to any reaction, I mean, to any situation around us that brings stress, we stop breathing literally first.
Hmm.
The first thing is that we do is contract, and our breathing pattern changes. Our breathing pattern shifts from different emotional projections that we give anyway. So, I mean, so I'm a yoga instructor as well. So the first thing that we expose our individuals is to the alternative to check on their breathing before they engage on any response to whatever is
Mhm.
happening around them.
I totally agree. Now, has there been any times in you guys' life, Anthony and Josefina, where you really had to say, you know what, I cannot continue to worry about this. This is beyond. This is one of those. I've sorted it out, and it is fully beyond my control. How did you deal with that, if so?
Okay. I've had quite a few times where I'm just stressed out about it. It takes a toll on my body, my mental state, just how I react to everything. And for me, he's the type of person, he'll let it go, let me pray about it, and that's the end of it. For me, I need to let it out. I need to talk about it. Um, like one time when the doctor thought I had cancer, he was like, he prayed about it. That's it. He's not talking about it no more. I was like, I finally broke down. I'm like, I can't let this go until I verbalize it. So let's talk about it. So we've got to the point in our relationship to where he knows, okay, give me a 10-minute conversation about the topic. We'll talk about it. And then I'll put it in God's hands. Because I know if I marinate on it longer than that, then it takes a toll on my body. My back starts spazzing up. I'm just angry about everything. Even the littlest noise irritates me. So I think everybody just needs to learn what is it that you need and understand that it's okay to talk about it if that's what you need. A lot of times in church, we learn that our words have power, so we're not supposed to talk about it. But some people need that outlet. Some people need to verbalize it, and then we're able to let it go. Because I have to verbalize. Otherwise, I start talking to myself in my head, and I'm not a good person to talk to myself.
You reminded me what I wanted. A point I was thinking about was communication. Like you are absolutely entitled to say, "Hey, I feel so and so way because so 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 and so." You're not pointing your finger at anybody. You're not saying anything. It's just, "Hey, I'm just establishing a fact. I feel this way." Period.
Right.
I agree. I feel like, there are so many things in religion, and that's another thing to sort out. The difference between spirituality, being spiritual, and having a spiritual relationship with your father, whatever name you call him, right? And being religious. Religious will hold you to a cross and say, whatever you speak out is going to manifest. No, because if that was the case, man, y'all, my life, I would not be sitting here if everything I said came to be. Now, I do feel like this. We do have to choose our words carefully. And
Yeah.
how often we repeat something, yes, I do believe at some level they do start manifesting. But if my way, and we're gonna talk about some strategies, but you got there, and I love it, is to be able to express it. Why do you think we're able to communicate? I think that is good. We cannot let religion tell us, hey, zip it, don't speak on it, because those are the same people that will characterize you and try and lay hands on you and cast out a devil, when really you just need to sit on somebody's couch in somebody's chair and just get these things out. We talked about this last episode on leveling up. Sometimes you got to get it out of your spirit. You got to get it out
Indeed.
and get it out in front of you so you can see a thing. You can see a thought. Okay, this is what I'm worrying about. Let me write this down. And I love the strategy. A 10-minute conversation, you're putting parameters on it. So even if somebody high on the religious horse, hey, look, we got boundaries on the conversation. So guess what? If I set a limit on this, then guess what? It can't go beyond that limit. Right? It's what you believe in. It's your mindset. Is how are you channeling these things that you are speaking? So I'm saying, okay, babe, we got 5 minutes. Let me get this off my chest. But see, the power of my words is within that 5 minutes, that's as far as that problem is going to go. Now, it could go further than that if I continue on with it. If I talk to this, where you go and talk to 10 girlfriends, girl, let me tell you what happened today. Let me tell you what he did. Let me tell you what she said. Let me tell you about the look I got when I was at the water fountain. Like,
Yeah.
you know, when you continue, then it becomes a pattern. And we know pattern, your activities, your behavior, your mood, your body. Not all of that is starting you creating a flow. And energy goes where energy is put into it. So if I'm putting energy into this situation, then it's gaining momentum in my life to wreak havoc. If it is not something that I am speaking out that's positive. So yeah, go to therapy, unleash it in an hour, and then leave it there. Even if here it is, you need to just say a finality speech or a prayer and say, I leave this here. This is where this problem ends for me. If I pick this problem back up, then I only pick it up to put it back down again, because we're human.
Right.
And Anthony, how do you deal with worry? Like, what is one of your strategies?
One of my strategies is to, think about it, get myself together, make sure that I'm level-headed when I do have these conversations, right? Make sure, and also I've learned just by watching, seeing how a lot of people do their strategy is most of the time people are looking for somebody to co-sign their situation. They're looking for pity. They're run to social media, and then who you communicate to matters, right? So they're communicate to people who don't mean them no good, just want to know their business and spread it, right? And spread your worries and spread your things instead of trying to come up with a solution or to even offer you support. Many times people will post something and people will say, they'll chime in and say, oh, prayers, we praying for you, but they really don't pray, right? Like, if you was really praying, I would feel the strength, I would be changed, but you're just saying something, right? And you're not really giving me that energy. So I've learned to send my issues to my tight circle, and we all pray together. Send it to people who really gonna pray, who really go lock in with you, and who really mean you well. That's one of the ways I've learned. I don't want a pity party and everybody co-signing the condition, right? Oh man, my grandma had that, so guess what? You're gonna lose 2 toes, and no, that's not what now I'm worried. Oh, not my left toe. I need that as my favorite toe. Just so I learned that I like my toes, and I learned who to communicate to.
Right. I like something you said. Pity. When we look for pity, it's because of our own low self-esteem. We seek for others to validate our flaws as if we were just embody them ourselves. Like, I am my flaws. Like, I'm sorry,
Right.
I'm just kind of slow.
Right.
The word sorry itself comes from an education that you are kind of slow and so on. Like, oh, slow down here. Like, the etymology of the word slow stands for that. So you're admitting, you say, oh, I'm sorry. And there's no apology to it. An apology is an explanation. So you just keep battering yourself, and then you seek for others to feel sorry for you, and that's pity. And then and I read a book that says that if you really love an individual, you don't feel pity for them. You actually hold them up to the standard and wait for them to step up to their own platter. And once they do, you sharpen iron with iron, and that person will sharpens up. It gets information gets formed.
Yeah, I know, because I had a pity party. I had broke up with this guy, and I was like, oh, woe is me, and y'all just join me in this circle of mourning and Anthony was like, well, you know what, let's talk about that scripture you had quoted a little bit and let's talk about what we actually wanted versus what God wanted. I was like, hold on now, you just like in the middle, like if a DJ was playing and it like scratched the record like and I'm like, hold on, we're having a pity party. Like, that was the invitation. The invitation was not to level up. So yes, when you said that, transparency moment, even in our mourning, we have to really just kind of recognize, what are we really mourning? Or, I heard a pastor say, did you really lose anything? Some people, we feel a loss, like they leave our lives, they come in, then they go. But did you really lose anything? Were you putting in all the effort, all the work? Or you lost the job, but you was miserable every day anyway, and you wasn't getting paid. You getting paid, barely making money. So now that you've opened yourself up to opportunities, which leads us into the last point, which is embracing uncertainty. And I think that is one of the, oh my God, if worry had a right hand man, it would be uncertainty. And we look at it like, I think we look at uncertainty the same way we look at failure. And we look at it like a bad thing. And really, it's not a bad thing overall. It's a place where you just have a lack of control. If we just stripped it all the way down and it's as negative as it could be, uncertainty is just where you cannot control the outcome.
Indeed. In many philosophies and many things, in different terminologies, in different ways, are making allusions to a certain thing. There's like that Tao, and Taoism talking about facing that certainty, straight in the face, but being the now always and not being attached to anything. You're like, for instance, beggars in the streets, people who are homeless, just traveling, hitchhikers, just are in the moment, constantly in a moment of uncertainty, and they're just going with the flow, making decisions as they come, and we would just have to deal with it in a lower percentage of whatever planning we have going on a daily basis or on a larger scale, on a long-term scale.
I definitely agree. I think we get fearful with uncertainty. Well, for one, you have to really assess the fact, are you a control type person? Because I think the person who has to be in control struggles the most with uncertainty. Have there been any times for you, Anthony or Josefina, where you just had to embrace it? You were like, okay, you know what? Come on, uncertainty. Let's hold hands and let's skip through this day.
I'm definitely a control freak. I want to be in control of every aspect. And even I like planning parties. So when I plan a party, I try to plan every possible outcome. I bring 10 different tablecloths just in case they don't fit how I want.
I bring them.
Whatever. But I know that about me. I know that I want to control every detail. I have an extra brush just to make sure your hair is okay. That's just me. Even with having 4 boys, I try to control how they speak, what they do. And I've had to really sit back and realize, there's only a handful of things that I'm truly in control of. And it's how I handle stuff and how I let it affect me personally. Like the winter storm the other day, we had no control over it. Nobody was prepared for the lights to be out. Nobody was prepared for anything. He was in Mexico or Edinburgh, right outside of Mexico. I'm here with the boys, and he was getting upset because he's like, "Well, why are you so calm about it?" He was like, "Let me try to find a way to get you to a hotel. Let me find a way to do this and that." And he's trying to get people to come to the house, and I'm like, "It's okay. It's here. We'll make it through it." Because that's all I was in control of. I didn't know when the lights were going to come back on. So I just had to realize this is all I have control of, is how I'm presenting it, and how if I freak out, my kids are going to freak out. So let me make it okay. Let me work with what I have, because it's going to happen anyways.
One thing I did learn, you brought that winter storm up. I learned that when you need to rely on candles for light, you should not rely on several different scented candles. But I digress, because y'all, if y'all could imagine being about 40 degrees, right, in temperature, right, and my eyes swelling up because I got watermelon burning, cucumber,
Did we air out the house afterwards? Once it warmed up, did we air it out?
Is there any instance? I'm sorry.
Thank God, no. So, you know, I'm sorry, y'all. I digress. Anthony, go ahead, and I'm gonna get myself together here.
Nah, sometimes you're presented with situations and circumstances where it's best if you don't know the outcome, right? Because a lot of times if God would have told you this and this was gonna happen, this person was gonna fall off and not support you, or it's gonna happen this way, we wouldn't have went, right? You said, nah, that's okay, God. I think I need this person to come with me the entire way. And if you mean tell me that we're gonna split up, nah, that's okay, God. But also with uncertainty, it's something that happens, but it also unveils another chance for you to trust God at another level, right? Because when God told Abraham, I need you to get up and leave, Abraham was comfortable in this place. He's 70 something years old. He's comfortable. This is what all he's known. But many times we'll be praying, God, do a new thing in my life. And it comes with, okay, get up and go. Start the podcast, start the business, open the martial arts school, right? In the midst of a pandemic, right? But God is saying, get up and go. And you're like, man, God, do a new thing. But God is saying, he's still saying the same thing, get up and go. God, do a new thing. He's already gave you the answer. But we're still right here and dealing with uncertainty, even with Abraham when he wanted to have a baby. Then he get the servant pregnant, right? And he's like, no, this is not what God promised you. God promised you a seed from your loins, So with uncertainty, it relies that God, even if I can't see what's going on, right? This is what I call bird box faith. Like the movie where I don't have to see God, right? But I trust you because you told it to me. So I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna trust you even more now, God, because I don't have to know where we're going. He said, Abraham, get up and go to a place that I'm gonna show you. I don't know how many people get in their GPS and just put up don't get the full direction, still go, right? If that GPS start acting up, we're not gonna go. But we have to rely on God, in this season, and also rely on one scented candles for future references. You don't want to scratch and sniff 12 different scents, Shunte. Can't believe you did that.
It was definitely a lesson learned with practically closed eyes and being very cold. But I like you said it, and bird box faith. Oh, let me tell y'all. I probably couldn't even been the actor in the movie, knowing it was all part of the movie. I'm gonna keep it real. Okay, so I didn't have like 3 transparency moments. This is like tops. But I mean, to get to that level, you have to be sure that, hey, I am equipped. I think that's where it starts with. It always starts with self, right? I can do this. My life has purpose. My existence has a meaning. I
Right.
can make an impact. I can show up as myself, right? We have to start at the very base of who we are. And then we have to let that go into our hearts where we start believing and feeling that way. Then we have to let that travel into our mindset so that we can think in ways that align with being impactful or being able to show up. So I got to feel, not only do I have to feel like I will be okay if I show up, I got to think like it and speak like it.
Exactly. Yes. Speak it. What was it? See it, speak it, believe it. And
Yep.
believe it, speak it, receive it. Believe it, speak it, receive it. And the words that we are establishing in those moments. There's something called that I've been trying to get into in Wheels as soon as possible. Neurolinguistic programming. It's how we programming ourselves in various aspects of our own spectrum of our personality through the words we use. Like, am I saying, oh, I'm gonna try this, or I'm working towards this, or I'm already engaging on something that's gonna get me there. Like, I might establish a short-term goal, and then is my remark, is my what is what's the word when you look at affirmation, is your affirmation towards a short-term goal? Are you actually there? Are you just, because when you establish that work, that walk, are you actually talking towards it? That's how you talk. You're actually walking towards it. You know.
Yeah.
So are you using? Well, what are you saying within yourself? I will try.
Yep.
Or am I doing? I'm already there. And when situations also arises or uncertainty arises in this case, what things are we communicating to ourselves to keep us being productive towards self and not be self-destructive?
Mhm. No, yeah. What are you saying to yourself, right?
Mm,
So we talked about it earlier. You have to stop and think about what you're thinking about, because that will determine what your behavior is and what you're speaking, right?
mm,
So if I'm replaying this worry over and over and over again and I just stick to something easy, what if I'm rejected, right? Because I think we all in some areas have some of us have grown up as children and been fully embraced. Everybody doted on us our whole lives, went to school, was popular. So when we're an adult, some of us cannot understand how some people are still insecure
mm,
because they haven't reprogrammed what they've thought about themselves the whole time since they've been 8. Somebody
Mhm.
could have rejected them when they was 5, right? And now they're 35 and they haven't really sat and thought, well, what was the moment?
Right.
What entered into my life that caused this worry or caused this doubt or caused this insecurity? And a lot of it we can trace back to old ways of thinking,
Mhm.
experiences, and even some things we were taught,
mm,
right? I grew up in the age where red was the lady of the night color, right? And so now as an adult, I have to, whenever I go to put on red, I just subconsciously pause for a second. But I'm like, you know what? I am not a lady of the night. Let me put on this red lipstick. Let me put on this red hat. Let me put on this red jacket. Let me put on these red heels. Let me just go all red. But it's just, you think it's, you don't really think too much of it, but really it's something that was implanted in me at a little, red is not for little
mm,
girls. So now that I'm a grown woman, I'm still thinking like a little girl. And I think that there is a little girl and a little boy inside of us all. And we have to talk to those little people in us and say, okay, you know what? Nope, it's time to level up. This is the time where we say, you know what's in my backpack? What
mm.
am I carrying?
Indeed.
Because we all carry something into all of our relationships, whether they're platonic or at work, our work relationships, or um, our marriages
Mm,
and our, more love interests. And you'll be so, I've learned a lot about my relationships at work and how I can use those experiences to better my personal relationship.
mm.
So I think, to close the show, you guys, I mean, I've just really enjoyed today's conversation. I think
Me
it's
too.
been on like all kinds of levels, but I would have to encourage everybody to look at the little person inside of you and really just kind of attack those things. Now, if you guys had one quick word to give, I'm going to start with Anthony, Josefina, then Jonathan. We got about 2 minutes left on the show. Can you give one quick thing that you would share for everybody?
Just know that you are equipped for it, or you are built for whatever you face. You built for it. I mean, you were chosen to go through it so that nobody else will have to go through it in your family. You got it.
To piggyback off that, embrace it and stop it. Be able to talk about it and talk to your kids about it as well. Like you said, acknowledge the little kids in us, and that's what I'm working big on my kids and teaching them to speak positivity. For every negative thing they say, I make them say 3 things positive to their brother.
Mm, like that. I would say be fearless, be present, and give your best. Because if you give your best in every situation, from the words you speak to the actions you conduct, you have nothing to worry about.
You guys, this was a wonderful episode. Thank you guys for tuning in to Let's Talk Life Excel. You can find us on mixedtalkmedia.org. And until next time, bye, y'all.